right, hello and welcome. I'm Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And today I want to ask the question, what is cancellation of removal? What is cancellation? All right. If you've heard of cancellation of removal, maybe you know someone, or maybe you are someone who is in immigration court and who's facing deportation. All right. Cancellation of removal is, by law, it is the last case, the last type of case that an immigration judge can consider before deciding whether or not to order a person deported. All right. And there are several types of laws. All right. The term cancellation of removal was created by law in 1996 with the passage of what we call IRA, which stands for the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act, passed in 1996 under the Clinton administration. And that is the law that created, quote unquote, cancellation of removal. Cases before 1996 had a slightly different law that's used to be called suspension of deportation. So if you had an old case, maybe you heard of it termed that way. But after 1996, the law changed, the name of the law changed, and the requirements for it changed to be called cancellation of removal. And so that's what we're talking about here. But really, we're talking about like 5 different types of laws when you hear people talk about cancellation of removal. And one of the laws that we're talking about is what we call cancellation for lawful permanent residence. All right, and that's done in immigration court on Form E-42A, and we call it a 42A case because that's the name of the form that we're filing under. All right, and we're filing for permanent residence. So what permanent residence would be put into deportation proceedings? Well, any permanent resident who has a criminal record who has made them deportable, any permanent resident who has had allegations against them of fraud or of some other, maybe alien smuggling, something like that, marriage fraud perhaps, something like that, and now the government is alleging that they are quote unquote deportable. Well, if you're a permanent resident in that situation, don't just automatically apply for cancellation. Your first step is to see whether or not you might have a way to fight against those allegations. Maybe the government hasn't met its burden of proof to even show that, yes, you are deportable. And so only if they've met that burden should you go forward with applying for cancellation. The second type of cancellation is cancellation for non-permanent residents. All right, and I have videos explaining that. I'm not going to go through all of the requirements there, but that's the one where you've got to have 10 years of physical presence, and that's the one where you've got to show you've got a U.S. citizen or a green card holding spouse, parent, or child who would suffer what the law considers to be an exceptional and an extremely unusual hardship if you were deported. So that's like a crazy amount of harm is going to come to that qualifying family member of yours if you were deported. And if so, a judge can, if you meet the other requirements as well, a judge can cancel your deportation and allow you to apply for a green card. The third type of cancellation is what we call VAWA cancellation. And that is if you've been the victim of abuse, physical abuse, or quote unquote extreme cruelty by a U.S. citizen or a green card holding spouse or parent. All right. And if you have 3 years of physical presence in the U.S., you're a person of good moral character, and you can show that your removal would cause extreme hardship. If you can show those things, you can get cancellation of removal through VAWA, which is the Violence Against Women Act. The fourth type of cancellation of removal, I think of it in terms of a cancellation type case, but it actually follows the old suspension of deportation requirements. But I think of it as a cancellation case because it really has some of the same types of arguments in it, is what we call NACARA. All right, NACARA stands for the Nicaraguan and Central American Relief Act. And you had to have been from one of certain countries, all right, either the old Soviet bloc countries or Guatemala, Nicaragua, or El Salvador. And you had to have entered the United States before a specific date, and that was a date in the early 1990s. And if you entered the US by that date and you meet the other criteria, you know, you applied for A.B.C class membership, or you applied for asylum before a certain point in time, then you can apply for NACARA benefits, which is a way to apply straight for a green card. And the last type of cancellation of removal is really the old suspension of deportation grounds that existed before 1996. So if you have an old case, or the old, we call it 212C case, which is certain people can still apply for 212C. The idea, though, of 212C, it's now been repealed. But the idea there is it's a waiver of certain crimes and certain grounds of inadmissibility from a long time ago, all right, from before 1996. And depending on the crime, sometimes that crime had to happen even before 1990, all right, before the Immigration Act of 1990. So anyway, so each of those are the different types of laws that that fall under this big umbrella called cancellation of removal. And if you hear, maybe the most common one, if you hear cancellation, it's what is for non-permanent residents, for the undocumented community based on a spouse, parent, or child who would suffer exceptional and extremely unusual hardship. The E42B cancellation, that's maybe the most common one of the cancellations. But if you are in immigration court proceedings, all right, you're going to want legal help. And you're going to want to really look at each of these different laws and the specific requirements for each one of them to see if any of them can help you in your case, and if there's multiple that maybe could help you, to think about, okay, strategically, which one is going to make the most sense in your situation, and you know, which one is going to, or you know, in some instances, can we apply for 2 or 3? And so that's it. You know, I hope that that was helpful. If it was helpful, please, you know, give us a thumbs up here on YouTube, or like our channel, follow us, hit the notification bell so you can get notifications. And learn when we have new videos being posted. And if you are in immigration court proceedings, please don't go through them alone. All right, hire an immigration lawyer who knows this stuff, who knows the eligibility criteria for each one of these, and who is also familiar with asylum and some of the non-cancellation of removal type options in immigration court. So thank you so much for watching this. I'm Otis Landerholm, Landerholm Immigration A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. Hope this was helpful. Good luck in your case. Thank you. Bye-bye.